Hey y'all, I'm here in my buddy Joe's garage, and as you can see, it's pretty cold out here. It's about 6 or so in the morning. I'm trying to let the garage warm up, but I'm gonna shoot this real quick and turn the heater back on because the heater's pretty loud in here and the garage doesn't warm up anyway. Well, I've got a 96 Chevy K2500 pickup that I bought about 7 months ago, and ever since I've had it, the flex plate in the starter just doesn't engage consistently. Well, I tried shimming the starter and it worked for a little bit, and now it's back to what it was doing, but it's even worse now. I'm having to crank the thing 10-20 times just to get it running. Well, so I'm on a mission today. I'm gonna pull this truck in here if I can. It's going to be a tight fit. I'm going to pull this truck in here, see if I can't get this motor pulled and replace this flex plate. Well, while I'm there, I'm also going to change the head gaskets and the intake gaskets. For one, because I had the motor out, and for two, because I've noticed some milky residue under my cab. So I think that is the head gasket or the intake gasket one starting to fail. In this truck, it's got a 5.7 Vortec, which are prone to intake gasket failure. So I'm gonna pull the motor out, replace the gaskets, put the new flex plate on, which is supposed to be here today. I hope it is, because I'm on a mission to try to get this done today. I need to have this done today because I have to be able to go to work tomorrow. So this is going to be a pretty big job. It's my first video. I'm trying this camera out, everything out, so I'm going to try to shoot the best quality video I can and give you the most information I can on how to get this engine out, for one, and for two, replace the head gaskets, intake gaskets, and flex plate. So I hope y'all like the video. Well, as you can see, I got the truck in, barely. This thing's a monster. I have zero room here. Stupid focus. I have zero room over here. Zero room up here. Zero room over here. A little bit of room. See, buddy Joe's working on this Chevy here. Got a diesel engine in it. It's not sure the size, which one it is, and it's 6.5, I think. It's got had some fuel line problems. It was a farm truck sitting around. Rats made a nest in the engine. He replaced the fuel lines and everything, but still working on trying to get it started. Got to do brake lines and everything. It needs some work. Go back here. Turn this off. Turn the heater off. Maybe you can hear me better. No room here. So after seeing all this, may have to reevaluate how I'm going to do this. There's two different ways you can get to your flex plate here. We can pull the motor out, or the engine out. We can pull the engine out and put it on that way, or we can drop the transmission down, put it on that way. That may be the route I have to go. After looking at this, I'm not sure the cherry picker would have enough room to pull this thing out. I can deflate the tires, gain about 6 inches or so. Here's the 5.7 Vortec we're going to be working on. I'm gonna crank this over and let you hear what this is doing. Try to get you a listen to what this is doing here. You can hear it tries to engage the flywheel. Usually takes about 20 cranks to get it going. Was working good. Then just kept chewing away at it, So I got a new starter, new flex plate. So guess I'm gonna think about my plan of attack and we'll continue this. All right, guess what I'm gonna do is deflate these tires and see what it looks like up top here. You can see, definitely gonna have the hood's gotta go, but that's no surprise. That would have to go regardless of what happened. But I'm gonna deflate the tires and see what kind of clearance that gives me up top. And how you do that is a tool you can buy. Little valve stem remover. As you can see, it's got like a little slotted groove on the top. And let me get you down on the and you take the tool, get your valve stem here, get you a good shot here, insert it inside. Insert it inside here till you feel it catch, loosen. You'll hear the air start coming out. Before you do this, make sure you have something to fill this back up with. Just turn it. You hear it getting stronger. There it goes. See the valve stem on the top of it right here. Stuck to my tool. We'll let this deflate and then we'll see what happens. Okay, got the tires deflated here. Gave me some more room. I wish that little wooden hanger there wasn't in the way, but gave me some more room. I think I'm going to try just to pull the engine. To me, it'd be easier to pull this engine than it would to get under there and drop this transmission, and I would just rather pull the engine. Not to mention I have to do the head gaskets and everything as well, and it's going to be a lot easier to do that with the engine removed. Now I'm going to try to show you what I would do if the engine was still in there. These are not very, a head gasket job is not a hard job to do. It's not a hard job to do. It's tedious and you have to pay attention to detail. That's the most important thing, is paying attention to detail, because there's a lot of electrical connectors, a lot of ground wires, a lot of vacuum lines that you're gonna have to know where they come from. Now, me, what I do is I use tape or something and I label everything that I disconnect, and also label to where it came from, so that way you have two corresponding numbers. You can find, if you're unsure, you can look back, you have your tape. Just make sure everything is connected when you put the motor back in the car. If it's not, you'll find out soon. You just have to look through and retrace your steps. That's why it's important to pay attention to detail. You pay attention to detail, you label everything, you take your time, you shouldn't have any problems. You should be able just to put everything right back in there. As I said, this isn't a very hard job. It's a long job. It's going to be a while. This is going to be a long day for me. And I'm going to attempt to show you everything along the way as best I can. As I said, this is my first video. This is my first video, and as far as camera work and everything, it may be lacking, but I'll get better as I go along, you know. On this Chevy here, I'm going to make quite a few videos on this Chevy. Now, I have a whole bunch of parts over here. If I can get you a good shot. I have a whole bunch of parts over there. Let me just take this out, make it easier. I have a whole bunch of parts over here. I'm going to be replacing a lot of suspension parts. I'm going to be replacing, I got some new mirrors, new aftermarket tow mirrors. This already has tow mirrors on it, but on the passenger side, the bottom mirror is missing, as you can see. And these look a lot better, the ones I have. We'll see how they work. I'm going to be replacing the upper control arms, the ball joints. I'm going to be replacing idler arm bracket, pitman arm, whole bunch of different parts we're going to be replacing. No idea why that switched to night shot on me. No idea. Looks cool. I had a little technical malfunction there. The camera switched to night shot. Not sure why. It looked cool, but not what we need right now. Okay. So as I said, I'm going to be replacing a lot of parts. I'm going to videotape all of it. Brakes, calipers, these have drum brakes in the back. I'm going to be replacing all the hardware, the brake shoes, everything in the back. I'm going to clean up the drums and try to reuse them. Rotors, whole ordeal. Got new tires for this, everything. Not sure if I'll be able to videotape that, but new tires, new rims, everything. So spent quite a bit of money. Oh, another problem I'm going to be addressing too as I have this out is power steering pump. My power steering's not working. It's always leaked through the cap, and I guess the people that had this before put some kind of rubber piece around the cap to try to help seal it. Well, I'm thinking a piece of that's got in there because as I went to go add power steering fluid, it was already full. I thought maybe it just leaked out, but it was already full. So one of the lines are clogged. So I'm going to attempt to try to fix that issue as well. Try to get my power steering back. But anyway, I guess I'm going to try to get started. Before I'm able to remove this hood, I'm going to have to recruit my buddy Joe. You guys will meet him. I'm going to have to recruit him to help me because it's a heavy hood, and you don't want it to slide back, bust your windshield out. Try to always use two people with this. Always use two people when removing any hood on a vehicle. All right, well, I guess I'm going to get started here. Get you guys focused over here and see what I'm doing. All right, I'm back here. Let's see. First thing I'm going to do is going to remove the ground from your battery. Disconnect your battery, power supply. Now, always remove your ground negative side when you're disconnecting your battery. If you remove this side, I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but when it comes back on, remove the power side, when you go to hook it back up, you see a spark. Now you're arcing a spark here, you're disconnecting on and off, and before you get it on. If you do this, you don't see anything. It's just safer to just remove the ground side when you're disconnecting your battery here. Now we're going to disconnect the battery, which on this one is a 14 millimeter or 9/16. As you can see, I got it rigged up here. Trying to get focused here. Got my ground rig bolted in there with a bolt and a nut, pushing it down here. My bolt that was in the connector had stripped out and was weakening my battery. Was having trouble staying connected. It wasn't getting a good ground. So 9/16, 14 millimeter. Then after that, I'm going to remove the fan shroud here. This one, there's usually bolts down here. Get a flashlight. Usually bolts down in here, as you can see. But here we're going to remove this bolt. Looks like a 10 millimeter, I believe. This bolt's missing. This bolt and that bolt's missing. Well, get a better flashlight here. It's too cold for them. Well, we're gonna move the fan shroud. This just pulls straight up. Get that out of the way. May have to disconnect this. We will. We'll disconnect this from the battery, from the hot side, positive side. We'll disconnect that, loop it over the top. We'll get this done, and then once we're done with that, we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and get the fluids drained. It's going to be oil, coolant fluid, everything else, and then we'll start disassembling the top. I'm just going to remove the breather. I'm going to attempt to remove as little as I can from this engine before I pull it. Now, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to unplug all electrical connectors. I'm going to have to undo the bracket to the throttle cable. It's missing a bolt. Fix that. Undo the bracket from the throttle cable and take the air filter off here. Take the air filter off. Disconnect the AC clutch, AC pump, AC compressor. We'll disconnect the AC compressor. We'll get that out of the way. Try not to have to unhook this. This is pressurized, and if you have to unhook it, you should go to a professional and have them decompress your air. Air doesn't work in this truck, so I won't have to worry about that. It's already decompressed. Well, okay, so then I'm going to remove the exhaust manifold. Now these bolts can be tough. They go through a lot of heating and cooling cycles, which causes them to rust and get stuck. We'll have to use heat to get to that. Sorry you can't see it. No light. We'll see better once I get the hood off. We'll go through all this as I do it. And then I'll have to remove bolts from the bell housing and the transmission, 2 engine mount bolts, and should be able to yank this sucker right out. Get that out, we'll take care of what we had to take care of from the outside where we have more room. It's easier. At some point or another, I'm sure I'm trying to not have to open that door back there because it's cold. Hopefully when it warms up a little bit, we'll probably have to end up pushing this truck back, giving me some more room up here. So when we get the engine out, there's no doubt about it, we'll have to. But hopefully it warms up a little. Garage has warmed up quite a bit from when I first got here. Been here about an hour or so. So we'll go ahead and get the battery disconnected and fan shroud off, and then we'll be back. Got the fan shroud removed. See a little better down there. Well, you'll be able to see a lot better once I get this hood off. Still waiting on Joe to get up. He's lazy, likes to sleep in. I'm up working. We're gonna remove this air cleaner housing here. Back here we got this electrical connector right here. This for your mass airflow sensor. Disconnect this connector. Gonna remove this vacuum line that just pulls straight off, as you can see. Remove both these connectors. Try to do this with one hand here. Gotta be careful pulling these connectors off. Break the clip. There's one. Don't want to pry them back too far. Just enough to clear the clip. That one gonna give me a little trouble here. All right, we'll disconnect those. Get this air housing off. Goes into your throttle body here. So you gotta we'll get that disconnected, we'll be back. Okay, got the fan shroud removed. See a little better down there. Well, you'll be able to see a lot better once I get this hood off. Still waiting on Joe to get up. He's lazy, likes to sleep in. I'm up working. We're gonna remove this air cleaner housing here. Back here we got this electrical connector right here. This for your mass airflow sensor. Disconnect this connector. Gonna remove this vacuum line that just pulls straight off, as you can see. Remove both these connectors. Try to do this with one hand here. Gotta be careful pulling these connectors off. Break the clip. There's one. Don't want to pry them back too far. Just enough to clear the clip. That one gonna give me a little trouble here. All right, we'll disconnect those. Get this air housing off. Goes into your throttle body here. So you gotta and we'll get that disconnected, we'll be back. All right, pull the air housing cleaner off here. As you can see, it just clips on right there. Right onto the throttle body. Easy to remove. Just clips on just like that. Onto it. Pull this out. As you can see, the filter's gone on this. It broke off. I got a new filter to put on. set this off to the side here. As you can see, I'm working with very limited room here, which is another reason why I'm removing only what I have to. Now, remember I told you before about labeling electrical connectors. For instance, these two. These two here. Now, pull this out of the mass airflow sensor. So we would label it mass airflow sensor if we knew what the mass airflow sensor was. Now, if we didn't, then we would just label that with a whatever type of labeling system you want to use. Like I use number 1. I would put a piece of tape around it, and write 1 on it, and then 1 on the mass airflow sensor. Piece of tape. That way I know where it came from. Do the same thing with all this. It's a lot of electrical connectors. You want to make sure that you know where these go. Now, I'm not going to do all this because I'm in a hurry, and I've done these before, so I'm confident that I'll be able to just put it back which way it goes. All right, now, next thing we're going to do is what I was looking at here. Get back to this real quick. What I was looking at here is this heater hose here. Now, these things are prone to breaking. If you're doing this, it's better just to buy you a new connector. We'll get a better shot of it. Let's see if trying to defrost these flashlights a little bit. That right there. Buy one of those about $8-10, and then the hose. Buy a new hose for $25-30. I would plan on spending that if you're doing this, because it's probably going to break when I disconnect it. I don't have one yet, so I'll have to go. I'm going to try not to break it. If I do, I'll have to go get one. Now, next thing we're going to do here is we're going to disconnect all our fluid lines from the radiator here. Coolant. Your coolant line, we're going to disconnect that there. It's a clamp. You may have the style clamp where you have to use a pair of pliers. If you do, you have to try to get in there best you can. Luckily, somebody's been here and put a screw clamp on here. So I'll remove the lower radiator hose first. Let that fluid drain. Once that fluid's gone, I'll remove the upper radiator hose. Get that out of the way. Now, this style engine also has oil cooler lines. Let's see if I can get you a better shot of them. There's one. That's your lower oil cooler line right there. Hold on, I just had it right there. You're gonna have to disconnect that from your radiator. There's 2 of them. One underneath your upper radiator hose too. You have to disconnect both of them. Disconnect your upper radiator hose and all your fluids. You have to disconnect also your power steering lines. There's one, and then your high pressure line you have to disconnect from the back. I don't know if I can get you a shot of that or not. No, it's down there pretty good. I might be able to from the bottom. When I go to disconnect it, I'll see if I can't get you in, get you a better shot of it anyway. All right. So we're going to do that going to drain all of our fluids into a container, and then we'll be back.